Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are at, where are we? What is this called?
Lynn Glen.
Lynn Glen near Dalry. And I'm here with Mr. Simon Jerromes, who's up in Scotland for a few days. I've never been here before, so I've no idea what to expect. And we're literally going to wing this. We're going to make up as we go along. So stay tuned and see what we find. Right. I think that's the first shot taken. Let me just explain what I did. I've gone for pretty much, well, there's the composition in the back of the camera. That's the composition. And what I've done is I'm trying to maximise this little area in the foreground that's got these bubbles which are swirling round and forming little circles as they spin. So I'm including that and the waterfall and this beautiful green moss covered ledge here. I've put a variable neutral density filter on. It's actually the Freewell circular polarizer in neutral density hybrid. And what I've done is I've adjusted the polarizer to cut down on the reflections, and that's making the bubbles really stand out against the kind of darker background. And then I've adjusted the variable neutral density filter. I'm currently sitting at about ND4. And that's allowing me to achieve an exposure of about 16 seconds. And that's long enough to drag out those foreground bubbles and make them appear as little swirls and eddies in the water. I've opened up to F4, and that's allowed me to capture about a 0.8 of a second exposure of the waterfall, so that I've frozen the details, because obviously at 16 seconds that's just a blur of water. But I've taken another exposure at 0.8 of a second, F4, and that has allowed me to capture some details. And then I'll be able to blend those details into the final composition. And yeah, it looks alright in the camera. It looks as if it's worked. Okay, now at this for option 3, pretty much the same viewpoint, I've just got a lot lower, and as you can see in the back of the camera there, I'm making the most of this foreground pool now. I'm including again the eddies and swirls here. The waterfall's a lot smaller in the final image, but because I'm down low, probably down about here, those green mossy ledge there is looking a lot more prominent as well. So I'm making more of the ledge, making more of these bubbles in the foreground pool, and the waterfall is just a kind of more of a backdrop thing. Right, how about this for a composition? I've come a little further round. Simon's where I was a minute ago, so I've come a little bit further round, which is probably close to the shot that Simon's been taking. So it'll be interesting to compare these later on. But essentially what I've done is I've made more of this foreground boulder, and I've taken two separate shots, one where I've zoomed in quite a bit, so a bit like that, So that's kind of closer to the first shot that I took. So the boulder is pretty much the main foreground element with the waterfall behind. And then I've taken another exposure where I'm slightly wider and a little bit higher. So I'm trying to make the most of the greens and those gnarly old trees in the background. And also you've got some lovely coloured layers in the, I'm guessing that's sandstone over there. You've got some beautiful oranges and yellows and browns in that sandstone. And again, that's contrasting nicely with the green and it's kind of overcast grey day, so that's providing a little splash of colour, if you like. So I've taken both shots, one a little wider, one a little tighter. Same idea with both though. So you've got the focused on that foreground boulder. I'm shooting about f16, so it's quite a reasonable depth of field. So I'm not really worried about what focus stacking or anything like that. And I'm taking 1.8 of a second exposure to freeze the detail in the water. And then I'm taking about a 10 to 15 second exposure to blur the water. I'm still getting some of these little eddies and swirls in that pool off to the side, but that's a lot less prominent now. And yeah, it's another alternative view, isn't it? Actually quite a nice location this, I've never been. We've come up to the far part of the walk. So behind me you can see the bridge, that's the bridge that crosses over the water. And then I think the walk is supposed to continue down the other side, but we're going to double back on ourselves and go back to the way we came, because we've passed some quite significant waterfalls further back, but we didn't stop to shoot them. Mainly because there was people in swimming costumes. It's 8 o'clock on a freezing cold morning in the waterfalls, and getting the camera out, it seemed a wee bit odd. So we're going to hope that they've gone by now and shoot those waterfalls on the way back down. But if you've not been, I would thoroughly recommend this. It's a lovely location. Yeah, we've got some snow, which I don't think was forecast today. So this could make it very interesting. Okay, we've come down a little bit further and we've discovered this little collection of cascades, and it's lovely. And I was just saying to Simon there, I really like the angular nature of the rocks and stuff like that. It looks very, very photogenic, but the thing that's ruining it for me is this fallen log here. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be possible to remove that unless we simply aim down the way like that, something like that. Okay, let me talk you through this shot. That's it in the back of the camera there. What I've done is I've zoomed in on this cascade here, and I'm using this line of rocks as a leading line. I'm trying to exclude that fallen branch there, so kind of a little bit higher about there. I've gone in tight, so I've excluded the fallen tree, and from about there and maybe about there and there. I'm just including that cascade there, this one, this little fall here, and as I say, the leading line of that rocky drop there. And yeah, it looks okay. It's very monochrome, it looks very almost black and white. There's just a little hint of colour in the background in the trees. And I've excluded this mossy foreground, so you're not getting that either. So a very, very monochrome type shot, but yeah, it looks okay. As before, shooting a couple of different exposures, really just so that I can retain some of the detail in the water. And yeah, that's it, fairly basic shot, but yeah, it looks quite dramatic. I'm now going to turn my attention in this general direction and shoot that little ledge there where the water's kind of pouring over there, because that looks very nice as well, I think. Alright, here we go. How about this shot? As you can see, Simon's up shooting the falls that I was shooting earlier. And I've come a little bit further downstream to this second cascade. And I'm trying to obviously exclude Simon from the shot. And I've gone quite high because I quite like the kind of angular nature of these rocks in the foreground, which are covered in some slippy moss, I can assure you. It's very slippy. And we've also got that little angular drop off over there on the other side. So there's the composition in the back of the camera. I've brightened it up quite a bit. I'm actually shooting it a lot darker. It's looking a lot more like that. But I've brightened it up for the purpose of the video. And as you can see, I've focused on this foreground rock just down about here. And I'm basically just shooting the cascade as it pours over. I'm trying to include some of the greens in the background, but if I lift the camera up a little bit, you'll see there's some branches overhanging here on this side of the water. So I'm trying to exclude them, which is why I'm aiming down the way. And that also allows me to exclude the sky, obviously, as well. Right, what do you make of this? We've come down to the next cascade down. Simon's braved the other side of the water. I'm not doing that. Mainly because I like this log as a leading line. And obviously you've got these cascades here. And I think if you get the angle just right, something like that, this fallen moss covered log has a bit of potential. So I quite like that. I might take one a little bit more zoomed in as well, something like that. But yeah, I think I'll be making this fallen log the main foreground interest in this shot. Simon's gone full Gavin Hardcastle. I'll keep my feet dry on this side, I think. I might get down low. Just checking where I am relative to the drop. Yeah, I might get down low and make more of this log. Something like that. And include those cascades and that backdrop. And then, yeah, because it looks more dramatic, doesn't it? Down low, something like that. Okay, right, I've taken this shot where I've been trying to use this fallen log as the main leading line, the main foreground interest. I'm thinking there's too much of a gap between the end of this log and the fall. So what I'm going to do is work my way a wee bit further up there and see if I can get them closer together in the frame. Really so that it looks almost like that log is pointing towards the cascade. I think that might make for a slightly better composition. Unfortunately, it means I'm going to lose these foreground cascades, but I think that might actually be a slightly better composition in terms of using that as a leading line. So I'll move slightly to my left and see if we can find a suitable shot. Alright, well, what do you know? We kind of lose the log as a log. It just becomes a kind of massive green, as you can see there on the shot. But I think that actually is probably a better composition. And I thought we would lose those foreground cascades, but we don't lose them either. And it's probably a slightly better angle for the background waterfalls as well. And I'm deliberately including that fallen tree because I love the colour in that. And yeah, I think that's probably a slightly better composition. Seems a lot more balanced with the green to the top right and to the bottom left, and then the water and the browns and the reds in the midground. Okay, what about this as an alternative view? I've come right to the end of the log. Now this is the log here, and that's brought me a lot closer to the cascades. And unfortunately we pretty much lost the back cascade because we're so close now. But it's allowing us to make more of this first drop. And in particular, that strange iron orange colour that you've got there, plus some ivy and some moss in the foreground. So it's given us a little bit of colour. And the composition I'm going for is that, probably a little bit tighter, probably something like that. Simon's still getting involved over there. But yeah, I like that, it's a nice shot. I'm going to probably go slightly closer again and see if there's another shot there. Is there a shot there? I'm here now, I might as well grab it. I'm not convinced this is going to work, but you never know. I think we're a bit too close to that ledge now, and the fact that we've lost that rear fall means that it looks a lot less dramatic. But I'm here, and if nothing else, it's a good reference shot. So the shot is very probably going to be something like this. Yeah, made it back. Not 100% sure that worked, but it was an interesting experiment. I think I quite liked that orange colour, it looked very, very vivid, and when you combine that with the beautiful green mosses and the ivy that was hanging down, it gives what probably will be an interesting foreground. Just a shame that we lost most of the waterfall. This fella's just been wild swimming at the base of the waterfall. I was just complaining that my fingers are starting to get numb because it's so cold, and that guy was in there in shorts. What's going on? Simon's taking some macro shots of the snowdrops. Here we see a macro photographer in his natural environment. While Simon's taking these macro shots of the snowdrops, I'm just trying to work out how that guy got down there. I'm guessing it's down this way. Looks like an interesting descent, doesn't it? Right, if we're going to get the shot, I'm going to have to go and presumably do it before the next set of wild swimmers decide to make an appearance. Right, I've made it part of the way down. I've got to say, even from this angle, I don't think there's a shot here because of all those fallen logs. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? Might as well give it a go. We're near the base of the fall, but as I say, I'm not really convinced that there's a great shot here. There is a lot of waste everywhere, and these fallen logs are kind of breaking up the foreground. I'll grab a shot or two anyway, but I'm not really as impressed with this as I was with the earlier falls. Okay, I've decided on this as a composition, but I've got to be honest, I'm not overly impressed with it. What I've done is I've focused on this big boulder in the foreground, and that's allowing me hopefully to get both of the cascades in focus. So that's it for another video. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks to Simon for the company and also for suggesting the location, because I'd never been before and it was him that picked it. It's a good choice. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the images, and don't forget to go and check out Simon's channel as well. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, bye.